regression analysis and logistic regression is a really cool tool. Again, hopefully we can provide some kind of link in the show notes for people who want to learn a little bit more about that. I'm sure there's someone on there that explains it much clearer than I do. But in general, what that does is it shows you the relationship between your revenue. Let's use revenue for this example, and some other variable. So let's actually use the weather in Phoenix is a pretty good example. So as the heat increases, the amount of revenue I'm going to get is going to decrease. And so what it will do is give me a formula where I can say, hey, here's the temperature today. How much revenue should I expect? Now, as you can imagine, that's an incomplete model because that's not the only variable that dictates that, but it will give you something, and then it will tell you how much of the variability in that model is explained by this one factor. So, for the heat, maybe it explains 5% of the variability, 10% of the variability. That is a factor. It's not the biggest factor, but maybe you add the temperature and the day of the week, and then you might be explaining 80% of the variability, and then you start adding in more and more items, and it's gonna actually start giving you a pretty good picture, and you're gonna start understanding which factors in the business do matter and don't matter. Because if you find there's really no relationship between this factor and your revenue, well, great. You don't have to, you may not spend a bunch of time and energy focusing on that stuff when it really doesn't move the needle for you as a business. So yeah, I mean, and obviously, you have to kind of understand, regression as well. Like there's a relative range where that stuff is effective, because, if you're taking a temperature and you say, hey, every degree the temperature goes up, I lose $5. Well, that's only going to work for a relative range, because as you go down, if you're gaining $5 for every degree, well, if it's negative 20 out, that's probably probably not the case. You're not going to be rich beyond your wildest dreams because it went to negative 20. It's there's only it doesn't work quite perfectly. You have to understand the limitations of it, but it will give you a good way to think about how the relationship of those variables are, what it is to your business.
Yeah. It's the only time somebody would be like, I really hope it's negative 40 today.
I'm going to be rich.
Be a billionaire.
Get that Tesla.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay. I mean, I love what you're saying. I think you're probably speaking a foreign language to a lot of laundromat owners, and who aren't going to understand that. But one of the cool things is, and we will add links, for all this stuff, pivot tables, regression analysis, all that stuff. So make sure you check those out if it's something you're interested in. But I love this because I think that, I just reread the book Principles by Ray Dalio, which I love and highly recommend. If you haven't read it, I'll put a link to that too, but it's an awesome book. But one of the things that Ray Dalio did, he's a fund manager, in the stock market, and, anyways, just keep it simple. One of the things that he did was he sort of pioneered using algorithms to make trading decisions, and did something pretty similar to what you're talking about, where they would add variables and see how that performed in the stock market, and then they would test it. They would back test it basically on past performance. And you may have some back data you can test some of your stuff on. You may not. That's fine. But one of the things that they did was they continually tweaked it and improved it and added variables and subtracted variables and, added weight to different variables. And we can do the same thing, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be on a fund, multi-billion-dollar fund scale. But you can add, revenue versus temperature. And then you can add things like time of day. You can add things like, whatever the case may be, you can start adding variables to get a more and more accurate picture of, what what's happening. And then you can start playing with some of those variables too. So you can add things like, well, on 110-degree day, how many people are coming in and doing their laundry and then not drying because they're just going to sit it outside, in their backyard or whatever. How many people are coming in and using bigger washers versus smaller washers on those days? Maybe the people who are coming in are, people who are they just need a quick single load laundry, right? And so, maybe they're just coming in and using those top loaders or a small 20-pounder, and they're not really using the bigger ones when it's 110 degrees. So you can get more and more precise and more complex as you get more and more data and more information that you can start to add into these. So I really love that way of thinking that you're talking about. One of the things. Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, and then also, and I know it probably sounds, foreign and kind of weird, but regression analysis is something I could show someone how to do on the computer in probably 15 minutes. It's very repeatable. It's very easy. It's actually, you can do it right in Excel. And you just really, all you do is you highlight 2 columns and then you press run and it tells you the relationship between them. And now, so you have to maybe understand a little bit, what's an R squared value mean? It's to try and interpret it a little bit, but it really is super simple. And so if it's something that you're interested in all, put a link on there, and I'm pretty active on the forums as well. So, I'm happy to chat with people if they have any questions about it. Because it really is there's some very powerful and very simple tools out there, that can be super helpful for you.